Welcome to Evening Cigars with Jack. I'm Jack, and this is my evening cigar show. It's a bit boating, but I'm gonna smoke it anyways. I am smoking a NUB Noob, Connecticut. Little stubby boy. My pile of matches down there, all burnt heads because of the fucking wind. Excuse my language. How y'all doing today? I hope you're all doing swell because today is a Wednesday. Happy hump day to you. And to all those Instagram girls out there showing their butts, thank you. That was a thumbs up. That is a thumbs up. What do I want to talk about today? Well, I don't know. What do you want to talk about? Let's talk about trees, the bees, the knees, the peas. Or we can just talk about anything we want to talk about. It might be a short episode. Who knows? But I'm just trying to think what we could talk about. No, there's so many things we could. There's some things I wanted to talk about, and one of them was integrity. And people kind of like turning code or basically not sticking to their own code when shit hits the fan. You know what I mean? Like, to quote The Dark Knight, when the chips are down, these people will show you who they really are. Or was it something on that lines? You know, in the last moment, some people will show their true self, and it's like, that kind of nonsense. But what are we talking about today? Well, I could talk about that, but I want to save that for the morning coffee show because I feel like the morning coffee show is going to be something we need to talk about. But I want to talk about something again about making movies in Hollywood versus fans. You know what I mean? Like, I know I've talked about this many of times, especially with Kevin Smith, especially with Star Trek, especially with all this fandom that we have with our culture, and it's kind of annoying just to see people not taking personal responsibility. Hey, little guy. Chipmunk. I just saw something moving. I'm like, oh, it's a chipmunk. I don't know which one it was. He didn't have a red hat on, if you ever got that reference. But the thing that kind of annoys me about this is the fact that filmmaker, like people want to say content makers. No, filmmakers, short filmmakers, content makers, YouTube whatever you're making, you should have some kind of like responsibility for your actions, for your movie you make. If your movie bombed, look at it and go, yeah, that bombed. That absolutely bombed. Why people hated it, and they'll point out too. Like, yeah, internet critics suck, but sometimes there's a good one amongst them. And I will talk about my favorite in just a moment, but one of my favorite, again, not to harp on the Kevin Smith thing because I don't give a shit and I don't care to watch. I knew something on that lines. I know Kevin Smith was not going to be a fan of He-Man. I don't think he was. Like, I know he's a good storyteller. I would love to see him write He-Man and Masters of the Universe, but not be the showrunner. You know what I mean? Just be like, yo, if you're going to get somebody to do He-Man, get somebody who loves He-Man. Don't get don't get a Batman fan to do it. And don't get somebody who's just been brainwashed by the SJW nonsense. Who's drunk in the Kool-Aid. The thing that really bothers me, and I mean this too about this, is that it's kind of one of those things that just really, really fucking annoys me. Because people make shit, people make shit and some people will love it. You can't really choose your audience. And you can't choose whatever they like it or not. If majority hates it and the minority loves it, I'm okay with that. If a majority, and yeah, you can say, oh, it was the worst, but some people like it, and you could say you had a lot of fun making whatever you were making, and have a good time with it. I mean, look, I think Death Proof was not I might have to rewatch Death Proof, but my least, my favorite. I was listening to the podcast with Tarantino, and he was talking about filmmaking and stuff like that, and making movies and stuff like that, and all this stuff, and it's like, yeah, it's, you know, it's a tricky business too, because it's like, especially when you're making movies and you're making stuff for people too, and it's like, not everybody's gonna get it. I mean, there's a lot of people who hate it, who didn't really like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I absolutely love the movie, because if you watch it, it's a love letter to Hollywood. And I know people are hating on Hollywood and shit like that, but it's a love letter to the business before it became corporate, if you know what I mean. Like, before they decided, hey, we need to put, you know, the statistics show this. I mean, this, you know, before the suits came, and before anybody says, no, there's a difference between suit and a producer. A producer knows about movies. He knows how to get money to make the movies, but he knows the art of film. A lot of people, like, don't get that, and I've talked to many of people who are, like, boomers, but, like, the most famous one is Robert Evans. You know, Robert Evans. You know, when you think of, you know, that the kid stays in the picture. Yeah, that movie. Look up the documentary, The Kid Stays in the Picture, and it talks about one of Hollywood's greatest producers. And everybody points out to Harvey Weinstein. Now, Harvey Weinstein's another one who's, like, you know, before the thing came out, he knew the industry pretty well inside and out. You know, besides the casting couch thing, again, they've been doing that since, you know, day one. Let's be honest. Like, Harvey Weinstein, it's been institutionalized in there, and I'm like, do I approve of it? Not really. You know, if you want to sleep with a starlet, you should try to work for it. You shouldn't try to, like, oh, if you sleep with me, we can do the movie. I think you should try to swoon her. I think you should try to, you know, persuade her, you know, in that sense. Not in the sense of rapey. I mean, in the sense of, let me try to be Casanova. If I fail, fine. You still get to be in the picture. I'm just trying to be a smooth operator. That's what I'm saying. That's what I always thought. I thought, you know, considering you're dealing with actors and you're dealing with high emotions and stuff like that, you know, you're dealing with people in the business and stuff like that, and there's a lot of attractive people there. Yeah, you would try to, you know, let's say, score. And then again, Harvey Weinstein was not that threatening to begin with. If you listen to the Harvey Weinstein tapes, they're absolutely hilarious, because it's like, you're embarrassing me. He sounds like a this is a guy of position of absolute power, yet he sounds like a neurotic Jew. He really did. And people thought he was a monster. I look at him like, no, dude, you don't threaten me. In fact, I'm surprised no woman has kicked the shit out of him and enjoyed it. He probably would have enjoyed it, but no, you know, considering it Hollywood, yeah, there's gonna be some debauchery there, there's drug use there, you know, but it's not you can tell. Like, my screenwriting teacher talked about this, and he was like, you know, somebody was like, isn't like the common currency in Hollywood, currency, excuse me, in Hollywood is, you know, blow and stripper and hookers? It's like, he goes, no, nothing would get done if that would be the case. And I'm like, I smile, I'm like, all right, fine. But I can imagine, like, Hollywood itself being like, that's the comment, that's like it's a normal business, and it's like, oh, good for you. Oh, okay, we made this deal. So here's the complimentary hookers and blow. This is Candy, and this is Tiana. She is from Russia. These are high class. Yes, so they are high class hookers. That's how I picture them in my mind. You know, they're from Russia. Come on. And our blow is from the Brazilian brand. It is a very good sweetness right there. Before the rain falls. Taxi reference. Shit. That's what I get for making Harvey Weinstein jokes. But, no. The thing I'm annoyed by this is that, you know, content creators. So, you know, people not being, you know, you've got people being, there's a lot of thin skin I see with this, and it's like a lot of like, oh, you're just toxic man babies, calling them names and stuff like that, and it's like, you're just copying, you're just parroting what the fucking SJWs say. It's like, well, this was never meant for you. No, bullshit. Like, if you're making, like, I don't care if you're making He-Man or Ghostbusters or Star Wars, Star Trek, whatever, you're making it for a specific fan base, and they will follow. Like, I defended, you know, hell, I fell in love with Star Trek, J.J. Abrams' reboot of Star Trek, that movie. Yeah, because I thought it was fun. I thought it was good, and I thought the cast was absolutely swell. I thought Chris Pine was a great Captain Kirk. I thought Kurt Urban was a great McCoy. And I also thought the guy who plays Zachary, what's-his-face, played a pretty damn good Spock. You know, and I accepted it. I was like, this is nice. This is absolutely beautiful. And I actually talked to people after I watched that movie, and they were like, yeah, it's not bad. I still think it's not bad. I mean, yes, it takes place in a different timeline, and I do think the sequel should have been about the Klingons only. Like, you know, I think Khan should have came later down the road. He shouldn't have been a pivotal character in that sequel. He shouldn't have not have been in there. And plus, Cumberbatch is not a good Khan. I'm going to be honest with you. Good actor, don't get me wrong. Not a good Khan, because Carlo Montalban did it better. He was like Bane before Bane. Oh, you gotta be shitting me. El Cigar, you shitty fucking masters. But I want to also talk about, like, but to get to the point here, like, one guy I've actually, like, speaking about good content creators and actually owning up to their own mistakes, is Doug Walker. Now, granted, like, if you don't know who Doug Walker is, he's the Nostalgia Critic, and I made a video previously about the change the channel thing, and I have to agree, like, looking back on it now, there were some things that were just, like, silly, like him not doing, you know, craft services when making Kick-Assia, you know, not getting permits, and, you know, directing people who are not even in the movie, you know, making, you know, To Boldly Flee, which I thought was, like, for the most part, was self-indulgent to an extent, but considering, you know, which is odd because everybody thought they were, like, I feel like it was a pretty good, like, send-off to the Nostalgia Critic, but I also thought it was kind of, like, a little long. The jokes didn't really hit as well, but you know what, I think, you know, between, like, of all of them, I do enjoy, like, the Rumble, I do enjoy Kick-Assia. Suburban Nights I thought was kind of ridiculous, but I did like the fact that he just, like, had his balls, like, well, he didn't have his balls, but he was, like, wearing whitey tighties, and he just, like, revealed his ball sack to everyone. You know what? Good job, Doug. But, you know, years later, he comes out, and he's like, he actually owns up to his mistakes about that. There was I was watching a clip of a podcast he did, and he was talking about Oni plays, like, ripping on him, and he, you know, he kind of accepted it. He was like, yeah, I thought it was pretty funny and all that stuff, and he laughed at it, you know, and he also owned up to his own mistakes. He admitted that, you know, things, he got too big and it kind of collapsed on its own weight, you know, and, you know, honestly, if he ain't owned up about the other things too, I would have been okay. Like, he's like earned my respect, like, he's gotten some respect back from me, like, some, not a lot, but just a good amount to be like, okay, you're a good man. But yeah, I mean, I don't think we should be, you know, hating on it. You know, we shouldn't be fighting with each other. We should, like, really discuss this and be like, what did we do wrong here? Like, that's the thing you gotta say. Like, fans can be toxic, don't get me wrong. But if you're making absolute dog shit on a franchise, you have to step back and say, okay, what did we do wrong and how do we fix this? That's all I gotta say. Peace out.